All right. Javonte Davis looks like he is going to be fighting Leo Santa Cruz in Los Angeles on this pay-per-view that they said was going to be taking place his next fight. I want to talk about that, the lightweight division, and just a little bit about boxing and this thing with Javonte Davis and the mother of his child. Not a lot on that though, because charges haven't been filed, and I looked at, the situation just could have looked worse than it actually is. I hope. Anyway, let's talk about those things in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel, subscribers. If you're not subscribed, I hope you accept my invitation to subscribe. Hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. Okay, man, we're going to talk about Javonte Davis. Javonte Davis is the WBA regular champion, and reports say that he is going to be fighting Leo Santa Cruz, who I do believe is also a WBA regular champion at 130. I don't know if he actually has a belt at 130. I should have probably looked that up, but he was at 126 pounds, a champion for a while at 126 pounds when, he ducked pretty much everybody in the dang division, with the exception of Abner Mares and Carl Frampton. That was at 120. That was at featherweight. Now at super featherweight, he's at 130 pounds. Javonte Davis is the former 130-pound IBF champion. He is also the former 130-pound, former 130-pound WBA champion. Some people say that he shouldn't have been the WBA champion at 130 pounds. He should have been, just counted as a WBA regular champion like he is at lightweight, because I think the last guy that had that belt was Alberto Machado. Alberto Machado beat Giselle Corrales, so there was some controversy over whether he should have been the WBA regular or the WBA super at 130 pounds. But regardless, he's officially the WBA super champion at 130 pounds. He's just moved up to 135 pounds, and he fought Yuriorkis Gamboa. And he winds up knocking out Yuriorkis Gamboa, I think in the 11th round. But there was a lot of questions about how he looked and whether or not he looked like he was getting gassed, and whether or not he's, continuing to grow or not, and how long he's going to be around boxing because of that. But at the end of the day, man, the dude knocked out Yuriorkis Gamboa. I didn't see any reason for all of that criticism, other than just the general criticism that people give when they don't necessarily like a fighter as a person. And with Javonte Davis, that's not the most difficult thing. Conclusion to draw is that, or feeling to get, however you want to say, that you don't really like the guy. Because outside of the ring, man, his personality really leaves something to be desired. Regardless, Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Leonard Ellerbe, the CEO of Mayweather Promotions, have done a very good job of creating a buzz around Javonte Davis. And you can see that in the ticket. Most specifically, you can see that in his rising ratings on Showtime. Right? He's not quite to the level of where Errol Spence Jr. was, or where Mikey Garcia was. Definitely not anywhere near where Deontay Wilder was in ratings on Showtime. But they continue to get better. I think this last one that he had did either 500,000 or 600,000 on Showtime, which, if you're not familiar with US TV, Showtime, doesn't really, it's a smaller channel. So the fact that you could get that many people on it speaks volumes, because it's it's because it's a much smaller pool of fight fans that have that platform. It's not like Fox, which is on, everybody has, whether you have cable or not, or ESPN, which is something that you have that almost everybody has. Like everybody has ESPN. I don't even know of a regular fight fan, a boxing fan that does not have ESPN. So those are big mega networks. Where Gervonta Davis is fighting is not a big mega network, and that's why I say his numbers over there are pretty good. Also, but the most important thing, or the clearest example of this, is the fact that he continues to fill auditoriums or stadiums, whatever you want to call them, in different areas of the country. He's sold very well in California. He's sold very well in New York. He's sold very well in his hometown of Baltimore. And where was the last fight that he was at? I think that last Tank fight was in Atlanta, and another one in Atlanta. So he's clearly bringing that star power, whatever quote unquote star power or rising power to the occasion. The next fight that they want to have is the Leo Santa Cruz fight. Leo Santa Cruz and he together could be a good fight, man. It could be a good fight, but I think you have a fighter that's experienced and is a good fighter. As much as I talk about Leo Santa Cruz and Leo Santa Cruz's tendency not to fight tough fighters, like for the majority of his career, and the guy that I'm speaking most specifically of is Guillermo Rigondeaux. When those guys were both at 122 pounds at the same time, Leo Santa Cruz, Abner Mares, Carl Frampton, Scott Quigg. And that was a time when there really was a lot of talent at 122 pounds. They all decided to get out of there with their jaws intact and refuse to fight Guillermo Rigondeaux. So that's forever, man, for Leo Santa Cruz and those guys, Abner Mares. I'm always going to hold those guys. I'm always going to have some salt about those guys, man, and how they did that. But regardless, other than that ducking that took place there, Leo Santa Cruz has and also he's ducking right, and now he was ducking Gary Russell Jr. Gary Russell Jr. doing everything he possibly can do to get a fight with Leo Santa Cruz. Walking up on his dad and saying something to his dad with him right there, putting shirts on his that say Al Heyman, make the fight with Gary Russell Jr., having things with Gary Russell Jr., with, hey, Al, make the fight, things like that on his shirt. Just, having to resort to antics to get a fight with Leo Santa Cruz. Leo Santa Cruz makes up some story about how, oh, it's all right that you mess with my dad. He didn't know who you were anyway. Like, man, get out of here, man. His father didn't know who if your father don't know Gary Russell Jr., and dang, man, your father should have a hard time knowing who you are, okay? Get up out of here with that nonsense. But, anyway, that's Leo Santa Cruz, and he's had good fights with Abner Mares. He's had good fights with Carl Frampton. So the fight between Leo Santa Cruz and Javonte Davis is a fight that should be on paper a good fight. Whether that is it worth paying pay-per-view for, I don't think so. I mean, I think that would be a great fight to put on. Maybe if this is the time to take Gervonta Davis off of Showtime and move him to Fox and get him in front of a bigger audience, and then lead to a pay-per-view, I think that might be a reasonable thing. I think it is. It's a fight. If they said if that fight was going to be taking place, say I think he fought in December, so I think they fought in the December time frame. So say that fight was coming around, April or May time frame, that'd be a fight that I'd be like, okay, yeah, man, 100%. Let's make that. I'm excited about having that happen. On pay-per-view though, man, I just do not know about that, man. I will. Because that's just how I do. I buy the pay-per-views. I would wind up watching it on pay-per-view, but I would be doing it like, I think you're stretching it on this. And just generally speaking, 130 pound pay-per-views, that's how many 135 pound guys are really worth, have been doing pay-per-views. I don't think Floyd got to pay-per-view until he got to 140 pounds. And typically, and neither did Oscar De La Hoya, and most of everybody else. Most of the other big pay-per-views were guys that didn't involve, like Manny Pacquiao was at 147 before he did that. Oscar De La Hoya was at least at 140 before he did that. I believe he was at 147 before he did that. Say Canelo Alvarez is bigger than 130 pounds. All the heavyweights above that, that's not really, that's just not something that you see little guys do. Now, but it's going to be what it's going to be. And more than likely, it's going to have, if it's at 135, the problem that I have with that fight even happening, though, is whether or not Javonte Davis can make the weight. Because, he's just, although he made his weight in the last fight, he didn't make it easily. He had to go back to the scale. There's just some stuff. There really is some stuff over there with Gervonta Davis that really needs some fine tuning. Not the least of which is his public foolishness. There's a lot of conversations we had on OG Boxing talk about him and the mother of his child and that screaming match and snatch her up by the collar and walking out the door. That, man, it just absolutely looks terrible, man. And on top of it, when guys are just, now, even if that might not have been something where he put his hands on it and charges are not filed, it just has to make you wonder about whether or not this guy really is going to be around for the long haul, and for a different reason than what Bernard Hopkins said. Bernard Hopkins said he didn't because he doesn't see him getting better. I don't know if he's going to be around for the long haul, man, because this dude might wind up in prison. Man, people that have that great a lack of self-control and bad tempers, man, a lot of times these guys wind up, behind, locked up. And for good reason, because they have a violent streak and they don't have any self-control. But, it's going to be what it's going to be. Let me know what you think in the comment section. With that, I'm out. Peace.